I can't believe you've done this.
Is this enough? With James O'Donoghue and David Hoare.
This is my ultimate victory, David. The destruction of reality itself. And welcome to Is This Enough? The excellent and brilliant game show that is both excellent and brilliant. My name is James O'Donoghue, and with me, as always, is David Hoare. We've come up with 3 rounds each. 3 rounds! And neither of us knows what the other one has prepared. David, this is episode 40. We're now too old to be relevant, but we're too young to have benefited from the post-war social contract. There is all to play for this week because there is, of course, always...
So sad. Carry on.
There is all to play for because, as always, there is a prize for the winner, the prize for the loser. And this week, of course, our prizes are being presented by our special adjudicator. It's Dr. Robert Walpole. That's right, Doctor. Threw that in there. Factually correct? I don't know, but let's find out. Hello, boys! My, what a couple of busy boys you've been. Why, I've not seen so many people put such a lot of effort into their comedy careers since the Duke of Wellington was on the open mic circuit. Have you ever noticed that Napoleon's a little wanker? That was his closure. Very good. I was his bringer. David, the winner of this episode of Is This Enough, will win a cheeky ciggy behind the bike sheds. Whereas the loser of this episode will win a cheeky piggy behind the bike sheds. A pig has been found behind the bike sheds and needs rehoming. This is your responsibility now, contacting the RSPCA, making sure it's had its vaccines and eventual rehoming. Sounds like a lot of responsibility. Far more than I had in my time. Being Prime Minister in my day was just shouting at King George in German while he stifled a fart. And a man to death. Goodbye, boys!
Oh, dear. Goodbye, Robert.
What a mook. What a mook.
What a mook.
David, if I'm not mistaken, last time you won and were given 39 firm handshakes. How did you get on with them? So firm.
Obscenely firm. It was like they'd eaten the right amount of fibre. They're just so firm.
That's a poo joke. Hey-o! And I lost and was given 39 weak orange squashes. And let me tell you, I went to the toilet a lot. It's a lot of liquids. And what could David be drinking right now but a particularly weak orange squash?
It was very strong. Strong. It's firm like a good fibre handshake. Why is this my new line of...
There we go. David, it's time to get on with the show. But before we do, remember...
Keep it light, keep it tight, please don't fuck my wife. Keep it light, keep it tight, please don't fuck my wife.
Rules to live by. So, David, without further ado, it's over to you for round 1. Round 1, here it is, hot off the press. Round 1 coming up right now after round 1. Round 1, folks. Round
1.
James, round 1 is, of course, called Pride and Prejudice Knowledge.
No, how? How does that... Because it's usually a pun, and I can get behind a pun. That's not a pun. That's just... We're going here. That's not misdirection. That's...
James, have you read Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen?
No.
Have you read Pride and Prejudice and Zombies by the other person?
No. I've seen the film.
Oh,
I've seen
the film,
both films.
What was the other one?
Pride and Prejudice.
Have you
with-
seen the 90s adaptation with Colin Firth?
No, I saw the 2004 one with
Keira Knightley?
Keira Knightley
I've
and
never seen that. But my
Tom
mum had the
Wambsgans.
Tom what?
Tom Wambsgans. Well, it's an actor whose name I forgot, and he played the character of Tom Wambsgans in Succession.
Right, okay. Is Wambsgans a surname?
I mean,
It just sounds like
was-
something a DJ would shout out at like a drum and bass rave.
Wambsgans. The actor was Matthew McFadden or Faden.
Mm.
First he's Fadden, now he's Faden.
Well, R.I.P. My mother, I think, watched the series as it happened and recorded it off the telly, and then we got her the VHS, the double VHS of all the episodes, and she used to watch it whilst ironing. So I've just seen it a million billion times. It's one of those things I sort of slow, like every 6 years I go, oh yeah, that. And then I put on the first episode as a bit of a laugh to be like, this is what my mum used to watch. I wonder how good it is. And then I watch the whole thing because it's fucking phenomenal.
I thought you meant Succession for a moment, and I thought there's no way on God's green earth that there's a VHS tape of Succession. I would love
Nerds
there
do
to
love
be.
it. No, I meant Pride and Prejudice with Colin Firth and Julia Sawala.
No,
the
it's what's her chops? I mean, I'm sure Julia Sawala might be in it, but it's
What in Pride and Prejudice? She plays
Yeah.
Lydia.
Is it not? Okay, yeah.
Who? What? Hang on. What are
I
you?
thought you meant as the female lead, and I thought
As Lizzie. I don't know who the person who played Lizzie is.
no. Come on, I'm sure this is a. Oh,
Are you
we're googling
Googling?
already?
Stop googling.
Pride and Prejudice. This is all in caps locks. Fucking hell.
Mhm. I hope you don't use this googling to cheat on any of the questions I'm about to ask you.
Who played all these
She
people?
didn't go on to do
Colin Firth.
crazy good stuff. I've definitely seen in some other stuff, and it's confusing because I just know her as if you see somebody in such a distinct character, like Elizabeth. Is it Elizabeth? No, it's not Elizabeth Warren. What's the name of the Elizabeth lady who's in Scott Pilgrim? And she's obviously got the multicolored hair. And then
Mary
you see her with
Elizabeth Winstead.
Yes, whenever you see her in any other thing, you're like, "Where's your wacky hair?"
Yeah,
When she looks like a normal human being, I find it weird. And I sort of have the same thing with the woman who played Lizzie because I just need to see her in the outfit from Pride and Prejudice, being like, "Ooh, I've caught a cold from walking."
It was the actress Jennifer Hell.
Hell.
L.
Jennifer Hell.
Jennifer Hell.
Well, James, so you do have some Pride or Prejudice knowledge. So I'm going to simply say one of the famous quotes from Pride and Prejudice, and you have to tell me whether that line was said by the character Pride or the character Prejudice. Do you understand?
Yes, in Pride versus Prejudice, Dawn of Justice.
Pride
Directed by
versus
Zack
Prejudice
Snyder.
for Mothra. Okay. James, question number 1. Was this Pride or Prejudice? It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife. Was that Pride or Prejudice?
I would say that's Prejudice these days because rich men may be in want of a husband or a wife or a partner who feels uncomfortable with either labels.
Yeah, I think you're completely right. I think it's presented as a matter of pride, but in the long run, it is actually the person saying it is prejudice against everybody that doesn't fit into that category, which is sort of the theme of the Pride and Prejudice oeuvre. James, points for you there. Congratulations. I love you. Question number 2. It is particularly incumbent on those who never change their opinion to be secure of judging properly first.
I would say one of two things. Number one,
Yeah.
I'm using a new camera, which has meant that I've got a lovely view of of my face, which has also meant I've had a lovely view of the small amount of ketchup that has been on my chin since we started recording. Number 2, I'm going to say that's pride.
Oh no, it's definitely prejudice. Like
Oh.
you should definitely not have weird opinions. So that's a failure there. Should have great opinions. Question number 3. Who said this? Pride or prejudice? Check out my sick Tamagotchi collection.
That's pride, clearly. Unless...
Correct.
Okay.
I may have misremembered the 90s a bit, but question number 4. People with small feet rarely kickflip. Who said that? Was it pride or prejudice?
That's prejudice? Or it's
Correct.
someone with big
Oh,
feet
sorry.
who's very proud of them. Oh, it is prejudice.
I think that pride can lead to prejudice. How about that?
Oh, ho, ho!
And
Very
maybe,
good.
just maybe, you have to learn to be proud without prejudice. James, your final question for this round. Who said this? Pride or prejudice? Mr. Bennett has a big fat cock.
That's pride because that's Mr. Bennett saying it himself.
That's exactly what I wrote down. Correct. By the way, my friend, your friend, previous contributor to Is This Enough, Flossie, was watching the 90s version of Pride and Prejudice and went out of their way to send me a video of like Mr. Bennett's tight trousers being like, look what this man is packing. And turns out Mr. Bennett, big fat cock. James, at the end of that round, you've got 1,200 points. It's over to you for round 2.
Round 2.
My. Round 2 already. How time flies.
Every year.
David, round 2 is called Hello, I would like to sing the theme tune. It's like that wonderful comedy program, Little Britain. What a good show. Let's watch it now. I'm sure its values and sensitivities are such that we could recognize them as close to our own. Oh, no. David, here are some theme tunes. What are these themes for? They're for 500 points. That's what they're for. Guess what they are. I'll give you the points. I'm sure you can get to grips with that, you filthy bastard. So,
Thank you. I did just have a shower, but I am pretty filthy.
shower it. David, here's question 1. What is this a theme tune of? What could that be a theme tune of?
Oh, is it? Oh God. Is that Supermarket Sweep? What is that?
It's not Supermarket Sweep. I've never thought of a show that's a more polar opposite of Supermarket Sweep. But that it's not Supermarket Sweep. I understand where you're coming from.
Can I hear the theme tune one more time?
Absolutely. I should say at this point, I have done my best to keep the themes as close as I could to the actual thing, while also trying some shit out.
Nice. Is the sound of like 2 chopsticks clanging together at the back relevant?
It's an approximation of what the percussion is doing. I think it's meant to be more kind of like typewriters. Maybe.
Is it Murder She Wrote?
No, that's a surprisingly jaunty theme.
It is.
David.
No, what is it?
It is, of course, HBO's Mad Men. Here's the theme with lyrics.
Mad men, Jesus, mad men, Jesus Christ, I think the lad's gone mad. You're a crazy man, John Hamm.
So sadly, I can't give you 500 points for that.
That's a shame. I've not actually watched much Mad Men, so I didn't realise Alan Bennett had done the theme tune. So that's good.
So, do you want to write the show? He went, no, I want to sing the theme tune instead. Oh, Alan. Question number 2. He's gone. Hey!
What
Is
a
that a
guy.
cassette of the works of Alan
So,
Bennett?
double cassette of his
Woo!
diaries between 1980 and 1990. And having spent most of my intake of Alan Bennett knowledge coming from you, finally listening to him, I'm like, oh, I get it.
Okay, David, theme number 2. Give us a listen, and soon you'll glisten with sweat as you work hard to figure out what this is.
And then at the end it goes. "Du-du-du-du-dum."
Yeah. What could
I
it be?
find this like it really balances out to something wonderful because I really love what you're doing, but it's like you've presented me with like the shapes of several
I know.
different bits of food, and then you ask me to taste it, and you're like, and I'm
Yes.
like, all right, taste. Like, I can't. What is it? Like,
However,
I don't.
you must also remember that in this analogy, the chef has had very little exposure to the ability to make food up until quite recently.
Yeah.
Very little interest in making food until recently, and is now presenting you with perhaps pork that must be cooked correctly, otherwise it goes bad.
Oh yeah, you might get food poisoning from this music.
Yeah. So it's kind of in the same oeuvre of Mad Men, that kind of very prestigious American.
Well, not Game of Thrones.
It's not Game of Thrones.
Is it
One of the like first big prestigious American TV dramas. Like when American TV went from being universally really bad to
from like what in like the Twin Peaks era?
post Twin Peaks. We're post Twin Peaks.
We're post Twin Peaks. Is it The Sopranos?
David, it's absolutely The Sopranos, and here it is with lyrics.
Howdo, it's me, lad, a cheeky gangster boy. I'm gonna blow you up with me favourite toy, dynamite. I hope you've not been anything but good, because I tell you what, I'm a right mean bastard.
There we go. That is HBO's Sopranos. I'm going to give you 500 points for that. Exceptional stuff. Well done, David.
I've seen neither show so far, so we're doing good.
I have a feeling that tonight's going to be a good night, but I have a feeling that you're going to enjoy this. You'll recognize this next one. David, we're on home turf. We're on the right side of the pond. Here we go.
Jesus, I performed this song live, and I've done it in like a metal version with like the da 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 da, but with that very specific horn you've used. I want to hear like a kick drum and then like a sick bass under like the.
I feel like it works well for like a dubstep
Yeah.
moment of a drop.
It's the Antiques Roadshow. Points,
It
please.
is indeed. And here it is with the lyrics.
Oi, oi, oi! Oi, oi, oi! Your mum's a slag!
There we are. And we
I've
get
never had my mum be called a slag by a Dalek before. That's fine. Was that Davros, or was that just one of the other Daleks?
that sounds for any big unfuckable nerds listening. That sounds more like one of the Cybermen from the 1980s when they stopped being emotionless. They just became kind of rather large lads in in tinfoil. There's one
like some of the lads who were Cybermen have brothers who were like in rugby or like doormen at like bars and stuff.
Particularly, there's one episode where one of the Cybermen is a big fella. He's a big fella, and good on him. Cybermen can come in all shapes and sizes. Here is your final theme tune. See if you can guess what it is as we go a little bit electronic. What can it be?
Oh, is it The Simpsons?
It's not The Simpsons.
Is it Star Trek?
It's not. You're in the right genre.
Farscape?
No. I'll give you one more guess. It's quite a core part of my cultural references, particularly in my act at the moment. But perhaps that will change in November. What world event is happening in November?
Is it The Source of Your Mother's Worries? Is it Blade Runner?
It's Blade Runner, of course. I'm going to give you 500 points for that. But what's that? Blade Runner isn't a TV show. Well, this is the theme for its short-lived 1980s sitcom spin-off. And here is the full theme tune with the lyrics.
I've seen things you wouldn't believe, but baby, it's a you and me. 1 and 1 and 1 make 3, and baby, you better believe we're blade running, running away together.
All these ratings will fade in time like tears in rain.
So much to unpack here.
Can I tell you something that happened while I was making this?
Go for it.
Showed it to my girlfriend, and she said, I hate this.
Tell your girlfriend, as I often say, that she is wrong. Number one, what was your feeling whilst using the pitch bend? Were you scared or were you excited to use the pitch bend?
I would never go for a pitch bend, but Vangelis does it a lot in the soundtrack.
Oh yeah,
He's a big old bendy boy.
loves the big old bend on the wheel. And number two, isn't it a shame that like Lost basically stopped people having long theme tunes because it's just like and then it's over.
I
We used to
know.
have that would have taken up half the fucking runtime.
There's also so the TV show Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy.
Oh yes.
The end and start credits go on for like 2 minutes each because they were 4 minutes under with the final episode. So they made the opening titles take like ages, and it's like British 1970s TV, so it's like very like minimal graphics.
Or is it just words?
Yeah.
That sounds amazing. Yeah, I think obviously there has been good and bad sides of that where you get less theme tunes, but whatever. I don't know. I never watched The Never-Ending Story as a child, and I tried to watch it as an adult. And the intro to that is the full 5-minute pop song, just with clouds and just text flying at the screen. And when there's a serious lack of nostalgia, you're like, they take longer to do that than spoilers for The Never-Ending Story. They spend a long time just having credits, and then they're like, here's a horse, the horse is dead. And people are like, oh, it's so traumatic when the horse died. I'm like, you had absolutely no time to get to know that horse. You cannot feel any emotion towards it. As an adult, obviously the kids who watched it have lots of trauma associated to it. I'm not trying to belittle your trauma.
I think I will. If you have trauma from a 80s movie, fuck you.
No, that's not true. Because
that's all right. If you have trauma,
have you seen The Witches?
I mean, no, I've seen.
Well, then go fuck yourself, because that gives me trauma.
My dad saw the film Dali made, La Chan Andalou, which traumatized him, and now he's squeamish about eyes.
Who could say now he doesn't like modern art?
And now he hates Lorca. That's a joke, because La Chan Andalou is.
I think it's perfectly acceptable to have trauma from kids' movies. Just, I don't. When I watched The Never-Ending Story for the first time as an adult, where people had told me how brilliant it was, and then I watched it and I was like, okay. And then people telling me about how sad the horse bit was, and I was like, as an adult, obviously time a lot slower for a kid. Not going to tell you how to feel, but just as an adult watching it, I was like, you barely get to know that horse.
Yeah. Well, David, at the end of that round, while we look into the past, I'm going to look into the future, because it's a close race. We are looking at, you have 1,200 points. I have 1,500 points. We have the state of Michigan yet to call, and they're saying it's too close to call in Pennsylvania. So with all of that, it's over to you for round 3.
Round 3.
Yo, what up? It's your boy, round 3, back with another one. James, round 3 is called How Are You? James, how are you?
Well, David. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, these are good. These are all right. I went to the gym and did some exercise. I've realized as I get older, I actually require more exercise than I think. Because if I don't exercise, I end up like, those Labradors that don't exercise and get really restless. I get like that. And yeah, so I had a bloody run around in the gym, shat near a tree, chased a squirrel, and got run over by a BMW. That's me, folks.
Did you really shit by a tree?
I mean, I've shat by trees in past. If there have been toilets near a tree, sure I have. How have I been? I've been all right. I've had one of those things of thinking about combining ideas that I've been tinkering in my head for a while. So now I'm kind of a bit. When you've got like an idea and you're like, this is all right, but I don't think this can sustain itself. And you got another idea where you're like, well, this is fine, but I think it's not that great as an idea. And you're like, well, what if the two of them together make something good? So I'm currently toying around with that. And I'm being purposely vague because if I think about an idea, then I get the catharsis from that idea and then I don't actually make the thing. That, David, is good for your brain. It's bad for creativity because the two cannot coexist occasionally.
Zay Frank in about 2005 coined the phrase brain crack,
Oh,
which is basically like ideas. If ideas are brain crack, then they're probably not going to go well. You have to get you have to get ideas out as quickly as possible, because if they're just an idea in your head, you get addicted to the idea, and then as soon as you start making it, it's like the beginning of making something is never going to meet your final idea of what it could be, and so you're never actually going to satisfy yourself. So,
yeah.
brain crack.
I've been thinking a lot about how I make up new ideas because I have quite a holistic thing of if I sit down and write, I'm never very satisfied with what I end up with. But if I just detune my brain a little bit and think about what stinky little thoughts waft in and out and just stop them on the way out, that's better for generating stuff. What have I been thinking about making ideas for so much? Well, because a bloody last week, I went to headline a gig that I used to do a 10-minute tryout spots for in Bristol. Smoke and Mirrors. Smoke and Mirrors is now run by the wonderful Danny Johns. Is it Danny who runs it by herself, or is she running it with other people now?
It's her and the Illuminati.
Oh, Danny Johns and the Freemasons. That would be a great band name. So,
Shake, secret hand.
I was at my lodge and they said, "Hello, Mark. Would you like to come and headline?" And so that was nice, and that tickled my ego. But here's the thing: I did the gig, great gig, had a good time, I did well, and I had the horrifying realization that doing well is no longer enough because then this sucks. I need to get better. And that means not just honing the same stuff over and over again, generating new stuff. And that means occasionally taking a swing and a miss, which means I have to be a grown up when I'm being a performer. Now, for those of you listening who aren't comedians, you're probably thinking, shut the fuck up. No one cares. There are people starving and going through all sorts of horrible things, to which I would say, that's true. But have you considered me on a megabus back home going, could I have pushed myself further? So it's time to make new stuff. And then I've been thinking, but I can't just sit down and make new stuff. Well, how the fuck did that Blade Runner sitcom thing get there? Of course I can. I've got tonight. Have I written any new stuff for that? No. Guaranteed. But that one is a bit of cash. So, yeah, I'm good. But I'm good in a way which is a grown-up good, which is a kind of like, here are some ways that I can further myself instead of just give me the dopamine. I think the last time we recorded, I'd just come back from doing a real dopamine heroin kind of gig of like just inject that shit right into my veins. And they're great and they're good fuel, but that can't be every gig. And of course it isn't every gig, because sometimes you get crowds who are twats. So that's how I am.
Yeah, it's really interesting that you've turned 30 and now you're having all these like logical brain things. What I'm hoping is every sort of thing like this discovery you have explains why I've been like I have in my 30s the entire time. Yeah, well, I think like you can have those. I need to get good. This needs to go well. Good gigs, but that can't be the only thing each time. And if you use the other gigs to like improve stuff, then when you do get one of those, this needs to be great gigs, you'll keep having, there's like a little bit more risk reward, which means that you'll keep getting better and there will be the dopamine will return. Because if you're just trying to get the same thing right all of the time, like you can never quite capture that magic. Whereas if you're adding new bits in all the time, then when you get a good like a gig where you want it to go well and it does go well, but you've added in a bunch of newer stuff, that's an even better feeling. Like where you take an idea that you've had in your head and then you go test it with some new material, edit it, test it a few times. The first time you take that to like a Friday or a Saturday night paid gig and do it for the first time and it sometimes lands better than stuff that you had that you like your bankable stuff and you're like,
I know.
Like that is one of the best feelings where you're like, for me, it's like, my new song worked on a Friday. Yes.
I've got a bit of that tonight where I've got an extended bit about doing this is the other thing. Passed my driving theory test. Got the practical test booked in for the new year. So look out, roads.
King of the road.
No, I'm talking about the statue of that colonizer. I'm going to drive right into it. Look out, roads.
Okay. Carry on.
So yeah, I've got a bit extended bit about doing a driving theory test and how it can't decide whether it's an easy or a difficult thing. But we'll see how that goes because the stakes they're very low.
Yes, and that's good, right? I think that's it. You can rock up to a gig and there should obviously be places where you should just try out new ideas for the first time, whatever. But then you'll need to try those ideas out again before you do them at like a proper gig. Because sometimes you might like be at a gig in the middle of nowhere where you're like, well, this worked several other places, so I'll do it here. And it's not like a Friday or Saturday night paid crowd and like something where you're like, this needs to go fucking great. It's like, I've turned up, they want some comedy. This is a bit of comedy I've been working on. I'll lob it in with everything else. They'll get the stuff that I know works 100%. They'll also get this thing that like has worked a bunch so far. And then there's a new sense of urgency for what you're doing. It also brings you back into the room. Like, whether you like or hate Bill Burr, like he's always talking about like changing up what he says, just because even if it doesn't go well, that kind of actually weirdly brings him back into the room. But I also think that can be true of if it does go well. But if you're just trying out new stuff, you're not on autopilot. You're not trying to get the right tone of your voice. It becomes more authentic because you are in the process of delivering it. So, James, as you pass your driving theory and you've grown up as a person, I'm giving you 75,000 points.
Oh, who's a cheeky boy?
I'm a cheeky boy. It's over to you for round 4.
Round 4.
David, round 4 is called What Comes After 3. David.
Lost all confidence at the end.
Round 4 is, of course, how are you? David. You okay?
All right.
Hey.
I'm doing all right. What have I been doing? I had a very busy period of time, which I think you caught the tail end of. When James came to do Spoken Mirrors, they came and stayed at my house, so we got to have a fry up. I showed James some stuff, which we'll get onto in the next episode, and had a really, really lovely hangout with James. Yeah, just before that, I went to Western Burt Arboretum. Are you aware of Western Burt Arboretum?
No, I don't know what any of those words are.
Do you know what an arboretum is?
No. Is it you?
Like a tree museum?
Okay. Arboretum.
Like it's an outdoor It's like a park, but mainly with trees. It's basically this place where I've lived in Bristol now for 10 years, and people are always like, "You should go to the Arboretum. Like when it's autumnal, it looks really beautiful." And I'm like, "Okay." And then my girlfriend didn't pay for parking in the place, and she was like, "It'll be fine." And then she got a fine, and it was
Oh.
a place that came under Forestry England, like not National Trust, but Forestry England. And she looked at so she was like, "Well, I might just get a membership to there because we go to this place all the time, and then we've got other places to go to. Where does that include? Western Belt Arboretum." So we got into that included in her membership. But I found out how much the tickets were elsewhere. It's very beautiful. It's very nice. It's basically like walking around a park. We only saw one half of it because one half isn't dog friendly, the other half is. It's a middle class tourist trap, which is fascinating. I haven't been to one in a very long time. I can't even think of what else one might be, but it's very clearly a bunch of people who've paid like nearly 20 quid to walk around looking at trees and go, "That's a good tree. That's a nice tree. That's a very good tree." And then there's like a cafe and like there's a burger van, but it has like pulled pork and stuff. And it's like not in like there's a hog roast van and stuff. And then you have to pay on top of that. So you're gonna pay 30, 40 quid to walk around and be like, "Oh, nice tree. Nice tree." It was very nice. I don't know if I ever need to go back again, or if I do, it will be for a while. Maybe if we keep our membership, I might go back again. But it's like it's very nice, but it is basically just walking around going, "Nice tree, nice tree." And it was on the autumnal color turn of the leaves, and since then I keep on seeing really great autumnal leaves, and I'm like, now that's a good tree. So it has benefited me, but I'm like, I think the way people had pitched this to me previously was like, "We'll go for a lovely walk in our Western Belt Arboretum." But like, if it was half the price, I'd be like, "Great, let's go." But the
I'm
fact that
always
it's nearly 20
interested
quid
in
just to get in, to go,
the
"Hey,
way
nice
the way
tree."
that class interacts with destination. Like Eminem's world, it's fucking expensive, but you wouldn't say it's a middle class destination.
Yeah, I don't get it at all. I feel like it's
Is
the sort of thing that the reason it's popular is because it's been put in places where, like, if you put Eminem's world, you know, like the Salvador Dali Museum is like out of town of Barcelona, and people get on a train and go there, and it's quite difficult to get tickets. If Eminem's world was there, it would shut down pretty quickly. But the fact that it's in Leicester Square, surrounded by other exciting things,
surrounded by
like,
cinemas and casinos and people selling tickets for rip-off buses.
you can go in and get M&M's with your name on or something. I've never even been in. It like smells weird.
It smells weird. It's just a weird thing to have in the middle of town. I've always been interested.
I quite like M&M's. Like,
and they're fine.
Really...
I used to before I was vegan. They were like my coach ride snack. Get a big old bag of them. I've just a big old bloody lovely. But welcome to the portion of the podcast which is us doing silly voices. No, we're not onto the character round yet. But I'm interested in like the artificiality of a lot of tourist stuff is very, because there's a lot of like, there would not be a queue here if people weren't told to queue for it. Like, I've heard of Dishoom, the kind of chain of upmarket Indian restaurants. Really good food. I went there for a friend's birthday. We were waiting in a queue for like 2 hours for food. I will wait in a queue for an event, for
but there are people who see food as an event, and that is what we like. There are people that experience food the same way. Like, I think about music, you think about plays. Like,
and I get that there's a similar thing of you can never have exactly the same meal twice because the chef might do something a bit weird the next time. You might get a hint more, whatever. The
Yeah.
ideal for a lot of restaurants is to make it all exactly the same every time, but it's never really in the same way that you go and see a film twice. You've seen the same film twice. But if you go and see a play or a comedy show twice, the comedian might have a different response to an audience, and it might be a different atmosphere, or the play might.
They might have put new jokes in systematically because they James O'Donoghue.
But yeah, the queuing for food is just. I'm becoming my dad because I'm looking at people queuing for food and looking for people with their phones out taking photos of there's no way that's going to be a good photo. Sometimes I see someone take a photo of something, it's like, yeah, that's not going to be a good photo. There are books full of photos of this thing.
I've got some good photos from Westonbirt to bring it back to the autumnal leaves. I always forget that this is the time of year where suddenly you're walking along and you see a husband being told by a wife, no, higher.
Yeah.
And then they're taking photos in front of autumn leaves.
Yeah.
And you're like, what's that for? And it's our Facebook picture.
Yeah.
And the amount of abuse that the photographer is getting, I don't think is worth the photo.
Yeah. Yeah. There's always a lot of photos. There's also now the aesthetics of it's the early 2000s and we're using bad digital photography is back. Young people are discovering old digital crappy cameras and are using them for the aesthetic. But there's a lot of it's an artificial spontaneity. What is the words? These are some words that you could use. Well, David.
Yeah. Oh, also, I went to the osteopath and she couldn't cure the click in my neck.
Oh no!
She finished. I said I've got I don't know if you can hear it. But I was like, I've got this click in my neck. I'd been doing lots of driving, and she was like, all right, well, we'll sort that out. She did the normal length of session. At the end, she went, turn your head, and I did that, and it clicked. And she went, oh, and then she tried another thing, and still clicked, and she tried another thing. Spent what seemed like about half an hour. It's probably only 10 minutes just doing extra stuff. Really contorted my face before the first time in the 4 years I've been going to see this osteopath. She went, I don't know. You're going to have to come back in 2 weeks, and I'm going to have to figure this out. And I was like, part of this is because I haven't been moving enough. So I went straight from there to the gym to sign up to the gym. And then the next day I went to go to the gym. I just took my dog out for a quick wee before I went to the gym. Didn't take my keys and locked myself out of my house. Yeah! Rang all the buzzers in my flat and texted the group chat of our flat. And they were like, oh, we're in the Scilly Isles. We're in Bath. And no one was there. So I had to get my friend to drive me and the dog to my girlfriend at work to pick up the keys, ruining lots of people's day. I finally went to the gym after that. And let me tell you, I ran for 15 minutes and then turned around and realized that what I thought was a mirror was the other half of the gym. Because I'm a fucking idiot.
And you had planned to spend 50 minutes on all the equipment. And you went, well, the running machine was fine. On to the rowing. That seems to be it in this gym. I'm going to get this done in no time. Oh, no!
Really odd. I went another time and I got my iPad out and watched 20 minutes of Taskmaster whilst running on the treadmill, and it flew by. And I'm like, this is what I need, because my least favorite part about running is the boredom. So,
well, David.
Yeah. And I've been doing a bunch of gigs.
Well, for all of your troubles, but not the troubles, I'm going to give you 7,800. 78,900 points. There we go. Which is still got you in the lead at
but only just
80,400 points. David, there is all to play for as we slalom along to round 5. Round 5 is the round coming up now. But before we go, a brief moment for our sponsors.
Round 5.
Round 5. James, round 5 is called Pilates or PILATES. Is this the sound of me after a Pilates class or after having a pie and 2 lattes for dinner? For 5,000 points a question.
Who's having 2 lattes for dinner?
It's behind 2 lattes or just after a Pilates class. James, question number 1, Pilates or Pilates?
When it comes to dinner plans, I'm very flexible. Wink.
Oh, you wouldn't feel very flexible after a pie and 2 lattes. I'm imagining a full pie, a big whole pie dish.
Desperate
Two-
Dan pie with the horns.
Two
coming.
like early 2000s lattes in a very like thin glass
Oh
mugs
yes,
with very
horrible
long
smell.
spoons.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that is after a Pilates class.
Correct, James. That's a wicked 5,000 points to you there. Question number 2. Is this Pilates or Pilates?
I have to give you
Oat or
50
dairy? Have you got pie?
One more time there.
Oat or dairy? Have you got pie?
David, I've just awarded you 50 points because this is the dumbest round that I think you've made. I'm gonna say this is pie lattes.
So you think it's Pilates, not Pilates?
Yes.
I'm sorry, James, because obviously it's before, it's just after the class, but it's not after having a pie latte.
So you're on your way home. You're still in your
From the
gym gear,
Pilates class.
Matt rolled up, and
Yeah.
you're popping by your coffee shop.
Just trying to find out if I can get a pie latte.
Okay.
So that's nothing for you there. You've got one more chance in Pilates or pie lattes. Best of luck.
Holy shit, I just ate a pie and drank 2 lattes. I'm gonna shit and fidget for the rest of the day.
Right. Logic would dictate that this is pie lattes.
Correct,
However-
James. That's another 5,000 points to you there. Well done. That puts you on a brilliant 86,200 points. It's over to you. That was Pilates or Pilates. It's over to you for round 6.
Round 6.
Oh, fucking hell. David, round 6 is presented not by me, but by our very esteemed guest. Now, best behavior. We spent a lot of money getting him to the studio, and he's doing this from the kindness of his heart and also for the money that we offered. So, David, please welcome our next guest. I am gone. I'm off. Don't even look at me because here is our guest right now.
Hang on, I've got my eyes covered so I can't see the guest.
Hey, David.
Hi.
It's me, Tom Cruise,
It
actor
certainly is.
and inventor of the cruise ship. I love old people and departing from Portsmouth. David, as everyone knows, I'm all about movie magic. You can ask anyone, and they know it's what I'm all about. Anyone. Mere babies born a minute ago, they know that I'm all about movie magic. But sometimes movies require innovation and invention. So I'm going to say some titles of some films, some movies, and you're going to tell me what kind of movie magic they used for the first time. Got it? Great. Oh, by the way, I will not be answering any questions about the Church of Scientology at all. If you do ask me anything, I will call my lawyer, and you don't want to make him angry because he cannot process anger at all and will come out in unhealthy ways like yelling and overeating. He's getting married next week, and he's already got his suit fitted. You want him to ruin his big day so that he won't fit into his suit, and his throat is so sore from yelling that he can't say, I do? You're a monster, David, but not like the ones in the giant volcano that made people, but don't ask me about them. David, Here are some films. Tell me, what kind of movie magic did they use?
Edward Muybridge's The Horse in Motion from 1888.
The Horse in Motion. Was it the first film to use horses?
You know what, David? Technically, you're right, because that was the first film, and therefore can only be the first film to use horses as well. Well done, David. You've got 8,000 points. David,
Yeah.
George Mélière's A Trip to the Moon in 1902.
It's the first science fiction film.
No, David.
Huh.
One more guess. Come on.
Was it the first film to make the moon have a face?
That's technically correct, but that's not what we're assessing. David.
Was it the first film to show a bum?
David, the only bum I can see is you because of these wrong answers. David, it was the first color film in 1902, achieved by hand coloring each individual frame. Wow. That's great. David, number 3, The Jazz Singer in 1928.
That was the first film to use sound?
Yeah, David, it's the first talkie. Like my wife wasn't allowed to be when she was giving birth. David, Vertigo from 1958.
Was this a film about the first half of my Edinburgh run?
Your misfortune makes me feel sad and uncomfortable, David. No, it was the first use of a computer-generated image in a movie.
CGI?
CGI. That stands for computer-generated images. David, 5th and final question. Mission Impossible 5.
Was this the first time that people had thought you made a good film in a while?
I love laughing at myself. No, David, it's not that. One more guess?
The first person to swing on the Burj Khalifa?
Oh. No, David, I'm afraid not. It was the first film to utilize the Lesser Key of Solomon, a grimoire of sigils and occult rituals made in the 17th century. Here it is now, David. Well, David, I'm sure you know your movie magic. I have to go now, as there is a set out there who needs me with my disturbing middle tooth and me to play a man who is referred to as a young man, despite the fact me being in my 50s and looking like I'm in my 50s. Goodbye, David.
Bye, Tom Cruise.
Goodbye, David.
Bye.
Goodbye, David.
Mm,
What a strange young man. Well, David.
don't like. By the way, at this wider angle, there's a leaf on your balcony that really looked like a human hand for a second. Very scary.
There's a human hand out there that looks like a leaf.
Especially as I was just kept on being threatened by Tom Cruise to then see a hand at your window being like...
He's still here. David, we are coming to the end of the show, so it's time for the results. Well, David. The results, of course, are presented by our special adjudicator. Our results are presented by this fucker here. Well, David, at the end of the show, the scores are as follows. And I can't believe this. My, do my eyes deceive me? David, you have
104,450 points, whereas the little runt of the pack, James, has 86,200 points, meaning that you have won a ciggy behind the bike sheds, naughty, naughty, whereas James must take care of a pig. Good luck with that, boys! He's a lot,
Blimey.
this guy.
Yeah.
Well, David,
Mhm.
this has been Is This Enough? And if people want to follow us, they can find the socials for the podcast at Is This Enough Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. You can also email us at isthisenoughpodcasting@gmail.com. We love your emails. We'll read them out. They make us laugh. And occasionally they are key evidence in court. If people wanted to catch up with you, where can they do that?
At David Hoare, LOL, on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. James, where can we find you?
Well, if people want to find me, they can find me at Is That James O on Instagram and Let the James Begin on TikTok. David,
Yes.
before we wrap up,
Yes,
was this enough?
definitely.
Hey! This has been Is This Enough? And we'll see you next. Week.